Welcome back, everyone. We are discussing assessment during a crisis. We had a great panel of presenters this morning. The presenters basically spoke about barriers that interfered with our students' academic success. Out of the morning sessions, certain themes were repeated over and over again. One was time poverty. So time poverty was a new term to me. Usually we think about our students not being able to manage their time, but the presenter spoke about they have no time to manage. And so over and over again, this morning, this panelist spoke about their multiple jobs, their family obligations, their childcare issues, their personal health, all interfering with academic progress. And our keynote speaker, Robin Eisterless, also spoke about colleges using the banking model and identified many challenges that educators face. And this afternoon, our panelists are going to introduce to us some strategies that they have used or plan to use to support the academic and personal needs of the students who are facing these challenges. So our moderator for the panel discussion in this afternoon is Dr. Ruth Gierges, and she will moderate the and introduce the panelists. And are we set to go, Ruth?
Hi, Gloria, thank you. I just wanted to, I think I'm just quickly looking at the names and see if our presenters have logged on. But while I keep checking, I just wanted to kind of reiterate what Gloria did say. If you miss our wonderful session in the morning, we pretty much had, our presenters kind of give us a summary of a lot of the non-academic challenges that students face in community colleges. And like Gloria said, there was some terminology that was also very new to me, such as poverty students was something that I learned during that morning session. We talked about the impact of race-based traumatic stress, which I also thought was very interesting to kind of hear about. One of the things that I really loved about the morning session is that we really do need a shift in our community, in our college, and that is to shift from focusing on the concept of time management, which is something that our students cannot manage because they do not have that luxury of having additional time, and really focus on making colleges student ready rather than making our students college ready. And I thought that was definitely in kind of aligned with the, this community culture of care. I thought that went rather well. And just to kind of bring us to session number 2, which is our afternoon session, I think Robin really summed it up really well, and I'll use her words here when she said, we need to turn our caring words into actions. And so what we're going to have in plenary session 2 is we're going to present, our departments are actually going to kind of give us an overview or highlight what is being done to support the challenges of our students. So each department will highlight what they're working on to support progress as well as retention, and whether these challenges are pre or post-COVID is something that they will kind of share as they introduce themselves. So instead of having me kind of introduce each presenter, I invite each presenter to kind of give us a quick overview of your department and kind of share in this 5-minute presentation something that you want to highlight that your department has been doing to really support our students during, again, either the pre-COVID area, or as I like to call it, this liminal space that we're transitioning into, which is that post-COVID hopefully post-COVID educational learning space. So I believe that we have participating in this afternoon session, we have Marva, Greg that will be participating along with Lalitha. And I'm trying to pull up, yes. All right, so I'm not able to pull up who our departments are.
Science, I'm from the science department.
Yes. I don't have, I'm trying to quickly look for the program overview that just shows.
So what you have is Dr. Lalitha Jayant that just spoke. Then you also have Dr. Marva Craig from Vice President Student Affairs. You have Dr. Neda Hazjadeh, Director of Counseling. And you have Sanjay Ramdath, Vice President Enrollment and Management. And then John Gallagher, Director of Organization and Business Effectiveness for IT.
Thank you, Gloria. So if I think we're opening it up to you guys, and if one of you wants to get started, that would be great.
I can get started. I thought we were going to go in order of what's on the form, but I'm happy.
Yeah, I don't have the form in front of me. I apologize,
Okay.
but I believe you're there. So that's excellent.
So I'm definitely there. I just wasn't sure of the order. All right, so I'm happy to start. My name is Neda Hazjadeh. I am the director of the Counseling Center, and I hope most people in this room know who I am at this point. So as I was sitting in the first plenary session, I realized that everybody had a PowerPoint. So I quickly put something together so that I wasn't the only one who didn't. So I'd like to share that, and then I'll walk you guys through some of the things that I'm here to speak to you about. Okay. All right, I hope everyone can see my screen. I think you can. All right, so as I said, I'm from the Counseling Center. I hope most people in this space know what the Counseling Center does, but just in case you don't, we are made up of about 13 or 14 clinical or counselors, clinicians, I like to call them, people who have backgrounds in mental health care. And we are open to all students who are currently enrolled to come into our offices. The presentation that I'm going to the presentation that I have today, I'm going to speak mostly about the clinical work that we do. As many of you know, we also work with students to help them file appeals or complete their appeal packet before it goes to the Committee of Academic Standing. I am not going to present data about that. I'm only going to present data on the clinical piece, because I think that really kind of reflects more of the stuff that we were talking about today. First of all, how has the Counseling Center tried to meet the needs of our students? So I want to highlight that since the pandemic, obviously the needs of our students have shifted a little bit, but not only since the pandemic. I think it's been changing nationally since I've been in the field. I have been in the field for probably, sadly, it's been about almost 20 years, but I feel younger than that. So 20 years doesn't feel like the right time frame, but it has been changing, right? We have made a considerable effort to make clinical services or counseling services more accessible to all people, not just people of the upper to middle upper class. So I'll talk a little bit about that in more detail. One of the things that we've done over the past number of years is we're starting to really collect data, and not just any data, but very kind of intentional data. And I am new to the data world, but we are trying really hard to kind of catch up and do what we know needs to be done. We have also increased the number of group therapy offerings. What is group therapy? Group therapy is an opportunity for students who are presenting the same kind of clinical problem to get together with their peers and have a facilitator in the room help facilitate the conversation. So it's an ongoing thing. It's different from the workshops that we've always done. It's actually group counseling. And that was in a direct response to what we were observing in terms of the loneliness epidemic that's happening across the world, right? I should say across the nation. Another thing that we've been doing is we're using text messages. And even though we all complain about Ring Central, or at least I'm complaining about Ring Central, one of the things that it has provided us is an ability to communicate with our students in a different format. Students are not reading emails. I think we all know that, right? They're just too many emails are being sent to them. So one of the things that we're doing in the Counseling Center is sending out reminders through texts. And also if a student doesn't show up for their appointment, we communicate them via text. Sorry. Hold on, let me just turn off my Ring Central. My apologies for that. Okay. So for example, if a student has missed an appointment, we can text them. And as you know, this generation is more of a texting generation than they are communicating on the phone or email, forget about it. As my daughter says, who emails these days? I still do, but apparently some people don't. Another thing that we did, we added case manager. What is a case manager? A case manager is somebody whose primary responsibility is making sure that students get connected to outside services. As I hope most of you know, we are a short-term treatment model, meaning we're basically semester-based. We hold the student clinically for 10 to 12 sessions, depending on what they present with, and then we help connect them to services in the community. As I'm sure everybody knows, quality mental health care, affordable, I should say, affordable quality mental health care in New York City is hard to find, and you have to jump through many hoops to get them. So we have dedicated one person to work specifically with all students who need either specialized care, which means like substance abuse treatment, medication management, or they just need longer term therapy than what we can provide them. So that's something that we have been doing. Another thing that I want to share, which I'm really proud of, is that we created in conjunction with the Peer Mentor program led by Denise Delaporte, is we have started a mental health ambassador program. What is that? That is, 5 to 6 students who are on the ground for us. We're using their eyes, we're using their knowledge to help us reach the students we have not been reaching. So just to give a very basic example, they have helped us make our website better. They've told us what we're missing. They've told us what students need. Why is it harder for students to reach out to us? What is it that we need to do? How do we hit the ground differently? Most of the clinicians in the counseling center are of a, non-college age, if not all of them. So we see the world a little bit differently. So using mental health ambassadors to help inform the way we market our services has really been helpful. And then of course, professional development. This is something that I've been very, very intentional about. So not everybody, everybody still can do whatever type of professional development they want, but I think the staff as a whole, in terms of a team, we've really engaged in racial trauma training. And I think someone mentioned that earlier, it's like race-based trauma, right? Many, if not most of our students have experienced race-based trauma in some way, shape, or form. And even if they don't know it, it has affected their ability, their resilience, it has affected their ability to kind of go through any other stressors that are coming. And of course, during the George Floyd summer, it really brought things up to the surface that maybe they have tried very hard to squish. And obviously that affects their ability to be successful college students. So now I just want to kind of give you a little bit of an overview in terms of the increased numbers that we have been seeing. So, and I want to say that this really matches across the nation. So even though I want to say that BMCC has done such a great job, I think this is really just a reflection of what's happening nationwide. Okay? I do think we're doing a great job, but also this is happening nationwide. So as you can see, as I hope that you can see on this slide, the number of people that we have been servicing, again, this is only clinical. This is not at all appeals. So it has gone up since 2021 academic semester till the one that we are currently in. So we have seen an increase in 42% increase in the number of students who have come to our office asking for clinical services. Again, clinical services, meaning they present as with some version of mental health problems that are making it difficult for them to be successful academically. I think this is a profound number, right? Again, I think partly what's happening is the way we are providing our services has changed a little bit, which I can go into at another time, but we are seeing and we're serving many more students than we have in the past, which I'm actually quite delighted about. Although it also means that our students are doing less well, which, All right, so who are these students? I just thought it would be good because this is an assessment colloquium. I think it's good to actually, throw some data your way so that we can all know who we're talking about. Who are the students that we're talking about? So because I didn't, the current semester is not over, we're using data from fall 2021. So that was our last semester. Where is the data from? We use an online, it's an EMR, which is a electronic medical record. So we use this record for scheduling purposes. And my staff and I have created data sheets where we put information of every student that we serve. Some of the information is information that the student provides us. Other information is the information that we get during the work, okay? And our goal was to see who we're serving and whether we're matching the general BMCC population, because obviously our goal is to always be matching who actually comes to the college. So I'm going to quickly go through these slides. So as you see, the gender identity, 73% of the students that come into our office or came into our office in the fall of 2021, but I think this is also reflective of this semester. 73% of them identify as female, 21% identify as male. So as you see, we have work to do to get more male identified students into our office. Not a surprise. And it is something that we are working on with trying to find group options that are specifically tailored to men of color in particular, workshops that are affiliated or kind of attract them, and also making sure that the staff in the counseling center also reflect more male identified clinicians. Okay. Race and ethnicity, as you see, because the majority of the students who come to our office, 41%, identify as Hispanic or Latinx. The second would be African American Black. Where we are not doing as well as I wished we were is the Asian American / Asian identified students, because this is not a reflection of how many students are actually at BMCC who identify in this ethnic category. So that is where the work is for us. And we have tried to reach out to this student population in particular. We're collaborating with the ANAPC project. We're really using as many creative ways to engage this particular student population, but I'm going to be quite honest, and it has been a challenge. So similar to it's been challenging to engage the men of color, it's also been difficult to engage Asian American or Asian identified students. Sexual orientation, also similar nationwide, 63% of the students who come into our office identify as straight. Then we thought it was interesting to see when they come to reach our, to come to our office, right? Because obviously research has shown that prevention is where the work is, right? So you want to catch the student before the issues become so much that they can't be as successful as they want to be in college setting. Actually, in life, I really extend this to life. So 33% of the students that come to our office are first semester students, which is great. I wish we had fewer more, but it is great. And I also think it's really interesting that then on the other side, the 23% is the fourth semester. So I think we're seeing them on both I guess ends of the spectrum. Presenting problem, the piece that I think is the most interesting here is that nationwide, actually, depression and anxiety go a little bit more hand in hand, and depression is actually more increased than anxiety. Nationwide, I mean in the college population, not all ages, in the college population. And I find it interesting that here at BMCC, 70% of the students identify as anxiety and stress being their presenting problem. The way we have interpreted it in the counseling center is that for our particular student population, this is self-identified, right? It's easier for them to say that they are anxious or that they have stress than it is for them to say we are depressed. This is where the work is for us to continue with mental health literacy, continue normalizing or taking away the stigma that's attached to the word depressed. And really just kind of helping students identify what are the symptoms that they're dealing with and what is it that they need from us. You see also academic stress is pretty high up there, 54%. Not a surprise with all the stuff that was presented to us earlier on. Our students in particular are doing more than just being college students, as I don't need to tell you guys. So I think that really And I also want to say here, I think this reflects how we work so closely with the faculty. And I want to, take an opportunity to appreciate the number of faculty members who have referred students to our offices, because you are the eyes and ears, you are the ones. And when someone's experiencing academic, distress of some sort, usually there's something else going on in their lives. So referring them to us really kind of helps open that up. Something really brief, although this is probably not, for all those assessment folks out there, it may not be really kind of research strong, because the number of students that actually filled out the surveys are not as much as we would want them to be. But we did try to send out a survey at the end of fall. It was an anonymous survey. We sent out a link with a number of questions that we worked on together, actually with the Office of Assessment, and I can't remember the other part of it. Sorry, no one remembers what that office is called. OIA, and what's it called? The office of that Musa is part of. I can't remember what the name of the office is, but we worked together. We worked together with them to make sure that the survey was relatively sound. But like I said, unfortunately, the number of students, only 63 students filled it out. So I'm not going to show you all the results, but I will show you the ones that I wanted to highlight. One is that the question that we asked is, attending counseling helped them do better in classes. So thankfully, we saw that about 70% of the students said either strongly agreed or agreed to that, which we were really happy to see. And then the counseling center has helped us stay in college. Obviously, this is a retention question, and most of the students agreed with that statement as well. So before I open it up to my other panel colleagues, I do want to just say some takeaways. Our student needs are changing. Obviously, I've only been here for about 2 years now, but what I'm understanding is that the counseling center at the BMCC was historically something not as clinically heavy. Right now, the majority of the work we do is clinical. What I mean by that is we are doing personal counseling. We are really working with students more than one session. We are working with students over the semester and really kind of unpacking what it is that's kind of creating whatever emotional distress that they're having in the moment, and providing them with hands-on skills to be successful in their world. Mental health literacy, it's my number one goal. I want to just be able to have everybody speak kind of freely about what mental health is, what it means, who's not feeling well, what that means, really taking away the stigma, and really allowing for this particular student population to kind of actually catch up to what's happening nationwide in colleges. Students are being much more open with their kind of mental health issues. So I would want that to happen here as well. Telehealth is successful, we've noticed. It's successful up to a certain point. So something that we are noticing is that a lot of our students, because of the situation that they're in, telehealth is not the perfect format because they don't have a private space at home. So unlike, many of the private colleges, our students, are living with many other students, many other people in their homes. So having that private space is actually not something that they can find. On the other hand, the students who are working or childcare, all that stuff, the ability to do telehealth has actually helped them maintain and keep a counselor and kind of work through, because they don't have to be on campus. So it goes on both sides. It all depends on the actual student. Overall, we need to listen to our students. I think everybody is saying that. We need to figure out ways to hear them, right? A lot of our students, as I'm sure you know, their voices are not necessarily loud, and they don't really advocate for them. The system has not treated them beautifully. The system has not given them the microphone. And I think we need to give them the microphone, let us know what it is that they need so that we can meet them and give them what they need. And ultimately, I also want to end on saying, I think a lot of the times we focus on the limitations, what they don't have, what they need. But I want to make sure I also really highlight that even though my staff hears some really, really, really horrible stories, and Dr. Cortez gave you some of those horrible stories, we are also able to witness amazing success stories. We are able to hear from our students who have these unbelievable strengths that are getting them through life in beautiful ways. The number of students who speak more than one language, I can't underline that more. It is so beautiful and is such an amazing strength. And we need to also kind of as an institution, allow for those things to speak volumes, as well as some of the limitations that we're trying to address. Thank you.
So just before, thank you so much for that. So I find the research fascinating and look forward to seeing the continuation of you following up with students after your 2021 data set. So one question that came up on the chat, which I'm also eager to get the answer to, is how can we approach you if we notice that a student might benefit from your service, but hasn't openly came to us and asked us or stated that they're going through a challenge or, something along those lines, but we kind of could see the benefits of reaching out to you. Can we reach out to you, and how should we reach out to you?
It's a great question. So thank you for that. Everybody should reach out to me with any question that they have. I'm usually relatively good at responding to emails. I check my emails, although nobody's reading emails. I am reading emails. But what I will say is that the best way to connect a student to us is if you let the student know you have some version of concern, whatever that may be. Because cold calling a student, so I have several faculty will say to me, there's a student I'm noticing some behavioral changes, and I really think it would be valuable if a counselor reaches out to them. My response always is, if we just reach out to a student cold, without them knowing that we're reaching out to them, the likelihood that they will respond in kind is very, very low. They'll be thrown off. They'll wonder what it is that someone has said about them. They will close up, and it will be less likely that we can be helpful to them. On the contrary, if you say to the student, I'm not exactly sure what I'm feeling here, but I'm sensing there's something going on with you. So I just want to make sure that you remember that we have this really amazing service, and I'm going to write an email and copy, Neda, Hazjadeh, or the counseling center on it. And if you feel like responding, then go ahead. So something to that effect, actually, the result is better. The student will be more likely. So what will happen? So if you send that to me and then you copy the student, I respond to you and I say, thank you, Professor Gurgis, for connecting us. I will reach out to the student separately, and then I will reach out to the student. And so that way you won't even be involved in whether the student has reached out to us or not. And then the student will feel like that stuff is confidential, and then we'll take it from there. Hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you. And I think we have one more. We have a hand up, Lalitha.
Yeah, thank you, Ruth. Following up on what Ruth just asked, because many times, yes, I look at the students in the class and I feel like I think I should send them counseling, but I'm very skeptical to approach them because I don't want to kind of make them feel, I know they talk to me, I am their passage into school, and I don't want to put them off. But at the same time, I know, and some students who do, when they're doing research, I can very clearly say they need to go there, but I'm still very scared. I shouldn't use the word scared, but very, I'm not very confident in approaching them and saying, hey, guess what? Don't you want to just, let's take a walk down to the counseling center. So what would be my best approach in those cases?
My first response is, I think we all need to work together on, lowering the stigma that we put to somebody who's coming to the counseling center, right? We're all in this together, right? So this is not just for you. I think most people feel a little uncomfortable saying, maybe you got to go talk to somebody, right? But if talking to somebody was the same as, oh my gosh, you have a big bruise on your leg. Have you had it checked? You would never hesitate to say, oh my goodness, it looks like that's, whatever is infected. You should go to the nurse. So if we work together to really kind of normalize that response, oh, I'm noticing something's off. Again, you don't have to highlight, I'm not sure what it is, but I just want to make sure I remind you that this amazing services are here. You don't have to use it. I just want to remind you. I know, 3 people in the counseling center, they are awesome. It's a great opportunity for you to get free support, something like that. I think it's really about the work I would want you to have within yourself to normalize that going to the counseling center is just like going to the dentist. Right, but it's not as bad.
Can I jump in here as well? That if you're unsure of how to handle it, talk to a counselor and give them the background of the student and what you're experiencing, and they can help you to do it as well, help you with the language, the process, where and when that you should make this referral.
Right. Also, more than us feeling uncomfortable, right? I'm worried hurting their feelings because I don't know that's a good suggestion, Dean Craig, I mean, VP Craig. So yeah, we would, I mean, maybe I could first approach the counseling center and then, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I have
There
never,
are there are 3 areas that I know of that can offend students easily, that we know that they'll benefit from: food, sending them to the food pantry, sending them to counseling, and sending them to the accessibility office, right? So those are the areas where we stand ready to support and help you to do it if you're uncomfortable doing it. And I know because I had, for example, I was talking to the Ukrainian students, and they were telling me how they were sending monies back to this and how much it was costing. And I suggested using the food pantry, for example. And the students said, no, they just couldn't see themselves doing it. And what I had to do was walk one student down there. And I took away, and I'm going to permanently take away one stigma from the our food pantry here in the ARC, and that is to remove the food bank, bag that they use, that orange bag. Excellent marketing, but then it brings some shame to people because everybody knows what the bag looks like. So I walked down with the student, and I also showed the student, let the student select the items he wanted and change the bags. So these are some of the steps that we're taking to ensure that the students who feel some kind of shame will use it, because I'm there with you and I'll take away the stigma that I see connected to this.
Sounds good.
one thing I will add though, that I would hope is different in the counseling center than people that are going to ARC for food insecurity is that counseling center, we see a wide range of students who come into our office. And I've never, ever experienced a student who was offended by concern. I'm concerned about you. I'm concerned, right? How much do we love, you know, to be seen, to be heard, to be acknowledged, right? When we were talking about, you know, turn our caring words into action, right? Be caring, that culture of care, right? A lot of students have no one who's ever said to them, I'm concerned. So it's usually met with open arms, even though we might feel anxious about saying something like that to somebody, it's usually met with, thank you for noticing. Thank you, but I'm not interested now. But yet it will register that you notice something. And I think that that's really important.
Thank you so much. I'd like to introduce Dr. Marva Craig, if you could present, since you were piggybacking so nicely to that presentation.
You're muted.
Oh, I'm piggybacking and I'm starting with counseling, a little bit of counseling myself and this stigma with counseling, because we have the ARC where our students will go for food and what have you. And let me just piggyback on how we're connecting even those students to counseling. And a new way of looking at it is to embed some social workers in ARC, some part-time social workers who, for example, will read applications that students present about why they need emergency funds. And sometimes in the application itself will be issues that the students could do with some counseling. So we're asking those embedded social workers who are helping the students in ARC to make that kind of referral as well. They have the language, the style and everything, but it is not only that students should present to the counseling center. Sometimes in student affairs, we need to go out and find the students. So we are trying to reimagine what student affairs looks like. The issue with student affairs is that we are practitioners who are face-to-face for the most part. So this pandemic has upended what services look like to us. So we have to continue our conversation in how and when we will serve students. I recall way before the pandemic, before Neda got here, that I suggested that we do online counseling. And the pushback I received was unbelievable with online counseling. And now when I tell the counselors, I think we need to come back to the office, the pushback I'm receiving that, oh no, this is working where we are. So it goes to show that as the manager, I don't have all the answers. And I just have to keep pivoting in any direction they're sending me that will best serve our students. So many of our services, and I'm glad you're covering assessment, we have the services that are grandfathered in, that we all know. You have counseling, you have childcare, you have the food pantry and what have you. We have all those services, but there are some services that we have to listen to our students, and we listen to other members of the college community. So one of the changes we've made, and Sanjay can jump in because we're working closely with him, is that we see the need more than ever to braid our services and what we're providing and working together as a team to serve our students. So for example, we see that our students are coming to the building, and when they walk in, half of them cannot come in to use the services. Not anymore, because they're not vaccinated or they do not have cleared for. So our new students can't come in, and some of our returning students can't come in. So who's meeting them at the door? Safety is meeting them. Does safety know? No, they don't have all the information. They have some, but not all the information. And this is where we have to agree as a group, for example, to go and meet the students where they are. We can't just sit in our offices anymore. So we decided the rush hour for that traffic, maybe 2 weeks before classes start and 2 weeks after classes start, we're overwhelmed at our front door, and there's a line there and safety can't answer. So something as simple as that, it doesn't have a name, but they need to be served. So we are working with student affairs, academic affairs, enrollment management, and we're taking 2 days student affairs, 2 days academic affairs, and 1 day enrollment management to ensure that we meet hundreds of students at the front door. Doesn't have a name, but it's a service. Sometimes our students are trying to contact us, and I find more and more that we're not answering the phones. We'll go to the emails, but not so much the phones anymore. We're giving the phones a little break. Then our students have no one to talk with. So we've created Zoom hours for our students so that the students can come on at certain times during the day and have conversations with us, and we can make the appropriate referral to students. Let me go to some simple communication. Simple communication is that we write to our students. When we're writing, and we're talking about communication before, and I hope Joe is on here, Joe Picatagio, is we do the assessment and what do we say to our students. We look at our subject lines and make sure that the subject line is catching. They will read the emails, Neda. I have proof that they will. It is that we over communicate to them and send the students information that they're not interested in. If I cannot file for financial aid, do not send me an email asking me to file for financial aid. I'm international, I'm undocumented, and I'm certain kind of DACA, right? Why are you sending it to me? And so they know. We're having an event, we're inviting them to campus. They're not immunized, it's in our system, yet we're inviting them to campus. And that's where Joe comes in, sometimes Joe Picatagio, and he's weeding these students out. So he will do a creative subject line, like de-stress, he will say, de-stress fest, relax and rest before your test. Like when we get halfway to the semester end, he will say halfway to spring 2022 finish line, and then he'll put like a flag there, you know, the racing flag there to say that they're the halfway point. So you have to get creative with that. But Joe, when I called Joe and I said, when did you send an email? He needs to give me the date. If I say, how many students opened it? He can tell me how many opened. He can tell me how many clicked on a given link so that I will know whether or not that email is appropriate for the student. And we go through and we look and we look. So some of the decisions he will make in, I don't think we should be sending X, Y, Z to students because of the response that he gets back. Some simple things that we can do, because I'm not doing the heavy lifting. I'm giving you the simple things that we can do for students. Every day I send happy birthday to all the students whose birthday it is. And when I send out a happy birthday, they'll respond, thank you. And that would go to my student affairs email box and someone else is reading it. I'm not reading it. Then we found out something. Let's go with assessment here for a moment. We found out that students do not only respond to the happy birthday, they're going to change the subject to something else. I wish I had a happy birthday if my teacher didn't. No one responded to my email below and you're saying happy birthday and they're complaining in the happy birthday thread. Those are my favorite responses, but my least favorite reaction. I'm saddened that they feel that way, but I'm happy that this email was unable to unearth an issue that they're having. And my favorite ones are the students who think that the email is from a robot and it's auto and there's no one behind it. And they'll respond and say, thank you, robot, or something like that. And I said, you know, it's a lovely day outside and I will describe the weather and describe things to them to show that I'm not a robot. And then I said, do you think I'm still a robot or something like that? And they respond with an apology and what have you. But that brightens the day of our students who keep responding to us. But let's go to assessment more here. And we look at OIEA data, right? And sometimes it doesn't matter what the acronym stands for once we know where it is. Because if I ask most of you without even looking what ASAP stands for, you would know anyway, right? So it's okay. We know where OIEA office is, so that's good. So we look at their data. When Chris or Musa or anyone from there presents to us, we take it seriously. We have retreats where we go and we look at the data. And for example, way before the pandemic, Student Affairs looked at men of color as an issue because we could see the data. We created what was called C3IM, and then we shifted and wrote a Title V grant. And when we wrote the grant, we got it where we can now serve underserved and Latinx, Latino, Hispanic males. And so I'm asking you, if someone can just put Tiffany James's email address in there. She is in charge of that program right now. So we are looking to work with more of those males. And then we saw that we had something here. And what we saw we had here was, it's a cohort group. It is the ASAP that OIE said was good. It was CD that was excellent. It was BLA that was doing a fantastic job. So if those are doing a fantastic job, why don't we create what we're calling conexiones for the Latinx or Latino Hispanic? And the reason why I'm keep using all three, I found out that they're not crazy about us calling them Latinx. They don't even know what that is and where it came from. So, and I've gone to a couple of conferences where they said they would prefer Hispanic. Where did we get this label? So I'm throwing all of them out there, right? Until, and one of the things we plan to do is survey our students to ask them, what do you want to be called? And that's what we use for the majority of people, right? They'll tell us. So we looked at the group, the cohort group, and we decided as administrators, staff, faculty, let's look at, can we create a college of cohort groups? And all of our students will be in cohort groups where they will be connected to one person, two people, an advisor, and sometimes a student affairs representative. So we are in the process of doing that right as we speak now. And so the admissions office is now looking at the students, and we have this ABC group. Why did I call them ABC? A is for ASAP, B is for BLA, and C is for CD. They're the starters to this. And all our students will go in that or conexiones eventually. But this is the first semester that all the groups are working together to register the students. So we have, I don't want to, how much time do we have here? Because only 2 people spoke and a lot more people are here. How much
Not that much more time,
okay,
but
so why don't I just jump off the soapbox with my excitement and say, if you have questions, and I'm here to jump in and out and listen to the audience as well. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
thank you. Ruth, would you like to introduce Dr. Jayant from Science?
So yeah, thank you for that. So just in the interest of time, if you guys can, as we kind of go through each presenter, just type your questions and then we'll share it with each participant. I think that's, we'll keep that momentum and excitement going. So the next program that we have coming up, I believe, is, do we have Dr. Sanjay back, or?
Your lineup is Dr. Lalitha, Jayant, Dr. Sanjay, Ramdath.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're back. So I guess we'll go a little bit out of order. And if Lalitha,
and John Gallagher too.
Yeah. So we can do Lalitha and then John Gallagher, and hopefully give time, I believe, for Sanjay to come back. If that works, I think we can kind of just go.
And we're going to maybe like 10 minutes each, and then we're going to borrow a little time from the breakout sessions.
I think just looking at the time scheduling, we'll try to do 5-7 minutes if that's okay. I know we have so much to share. Okay.
All right. I'll try to be very brief. I won't go out of my way. I'm going to be slightly moved from what you guys were talking of, because I'm going to talk about how Science Department and BMCC has used research to kind of increase retention. I'm going to, like Neda did, I put together a PowerPoint to just show some data. And I also can talk about what we have done and what needs to be done. So basically, if you look at the retention at this moment, we are not alone. Student enrollment, the rates have been going down everywhere. I mean, now initially the last department meeting we were looking at, and it was just not BMCC. Every 2-year school has lost a lot of students, and what is the national consensus on that is that, most of the students, like what we were talking in panel 1, time poverty, our students, because of their background, have to go to work, have to take care of so many things. They don't have rich parents to support them. So as a result of which, they're dropping out of college. So we have a substantial low enrollment and low retention in both cases. So this is just like a quick data to show as compared to 4-year schools, and this is 2018 to 2020, our retention has, our enrollment has gone down. And this is not BMCC, this is all the 2-year schools nationwide. And this is showing how retention has also gone down. So I looked into some of the journals to see what are the strategies available to increase retention. And it says cultivate relationship with advisors, staff, and faculty, build community, a sense of belonging, encourage autonomy. And I said, that's what we do when we have our students, when we pick our students to do research with us. You become so close with the students that you share your phone number, and they call you the next day and say, they call you anytime and say, hey, professor, I'm going out for dinner. Do you want to come and have dinner with us? So, it's that close relationship we start having with our students with whom we do research with. Also, when you work with more than one student, you have a small group and they are peer mentors to each other. Because they're going to work in a project, and I'm not going to be sitting with them all the time after teaching them the first couple of hand-holding sessions, they're capable of doing work on their own. They're able to troubleshoot. They're even able to, I shouldn't say they're even able to, they at some point think so critically, they think more than their mentors. And overall, it looks really good on the resume. I just want to extrapolate on what VP Craig was saying. 3 of my students this last year, COVID, but got accepted in 2 into med school and 1 into a PhD program. And 2 of them are Hispano-Latin males, and 1 is a Hispano-Latino female. So, we are working with these students, and it and what one of the students told me was, I didn't get a good MCAT score, but my interviewers were very, very impressed with the fact that I came from a 2-year school and I've still done so much research and I've presented in international conferences. So it does look really good on the resume, and it builds them a lot of self-confidence. And just to give you small data, I didn't collect a lot of data, but this is the number of students we took for a summer workshop in 2012. That many continued with research after the workshop, and 21 students actually graduated from BMCC to pursue a 4-year degree. This is as recent as 2017. We had another grant called MESIT. This is for minority students. Out of the total 24 students I picked up, 14 students I picked up for research, 11 of them actually went on to do graduated from 4-year schools. And most of them coming from an African-American, Hispano-Latino background. So what programs do we have in BMCC and in the science department? We have the CUNY Research Scholars Program. This has been very successful. If every professor and every service can kind of advertise on that, students get like $1,000 stipend per semester to do research. They actually get $3,000 during summer. So this kind of, going back to the time poverty, they don't have to work outside. They are working in BMCC, getting their education and getting money too. So, that's like a great program. They should be joining in. Honors is another program we have where we pick a student and work throughout the semester. So the student does not have to say, I can do research. BFF is for all those immigrant students or DACA who don't have paperwork, they can join in BFF. And there are honors courses. That means if you register in an honors course, you're taking the course and you're doing research as part of your classwork. Of course, STEP is for high school students who come ready with research after the STEP program. And NSF-RU is the NSF grant that we have recently had that allows students to do research. This is an excellent program because they get $5,000 in summer for working 10 weeks. Is that also well and good? No, there's a lot of problems. We only have a small percentage of our students actually do research. While it's so great, extremely small amount of people, students are reached by this. We do not have enough grant funds to support materials and stipends. And there must be some way to involve most of our faculty. We have an excellent faculty, not only in the science department, in the social sciences, in media, in the nursing department. Not many of them are involved in doing research because it takes a lot of time and effort to do that. Do I have any solutions for this? A few of them. Like VP Craig was saying, you know, in last summer, we said, hey, we can't do research because we got to go into the lab, but why don't we do online research? So we actually had a virtual research, Zoom research, where we had students pick up projects and we had them design experiments. We had them analyze data. We did everything except going into a lab. And I think we should continue on that. And if we can pair one student who can go into the lab with a student who cannot, and have that student work virtually with the student, we can double or triple the number of students we can involve in research. We should have research intensive courses, just like we have WI, we should have RI. So, you know, the students who are getting into the course know that they're going to do research. So again, you know, we have students who do not have the time to do research. They want to do research. When they hear their mentors, their peers talk about how research helps them, they want to do it. They come to the faculty and say, Professor, can I do research? But the moment you tell them the time commitment, they're like, no, I have kids, or I have jobs, I have other stuff to do. And they cannot commit that time. So if we can make the courses research oriented, like, you know, this course, you know, there are certain gateway courses that they need to take, but like an independent study course, this is a research-based course. So this is what you're going to do in this course. Those will definitely benefit them. Summer internships, like, you know, the more summer internships we can give them, if we can ask them, if we can tell them, you don't have to work this summer. You can come here, do the research, and get the benefit of the research, work on a project. We're also going to pay you. Like the recent NSF-RU pays them $4,600 plus $1,200 for housing plus food. I mean, you can beat that. If you can give that much money for them to work for 10 weeks, I think the students will not go outside to work. That will keep them in there. We should collaborate with Council for Undergraduate Research, which provides us with a lot of strategies to continue with research, more grants, institutional support. Our administration should kind of give some incentives to faculty in terms of taking our students to conferences, in terms of providing them release time. You know, by end of the day, doing research with a student is as much as a commitment for a faculty who does not get paid and more, or, you know, it's just a question of the students coming back to them and saying, Professor, you made me carry you. Other than that, the faculty don't get anything. So if the faculty can get some release time to work with with not one student, say maybe if a faculty is working with 3 or 4 students, give them some release time, some supply money to purchase. I have seen faculty in my department spend their own money to buy supplies to work with students. If that is kind of taken care of, we can definitely improve retention in the science and social sciences and other departments that are doing research, because most of the students who've done research have actually come back to say how much that has impacted their life, impacted their career, and all the good places or the schools they're attending now. I mean, I can give a list of my students who've gone on, and I'm sure every faculty who's done research would definitely do that. Plus, we have awesome facilities. I mean, some of my faculty friends who are from other schools, 4-year schools, come see our research labs and say, that's state-of-the-art labs. We have really, really good labs. We should make use of that to improve and increase the number of students who can do research, and also, like, you know, improve retention. That's my question, and that's all I had to say. If anyone has anything to add on that, I'll be more than happy to answer.
I don't see any questions on the chat, but if they pop up, I'll be happy to share as we have our next presenter, which I believe is John Gallagher.
Yes, I'm gonna, just so you know, I want to put this presentation into the chat as a PDF, and I'm going to go as quick as I can. I do want to recognize Marva Craig here, though, for some useful stuff she did early in the pandemic. She asked a lot of hard questions of us, and it was really appreciated. So thank you, Marva. And I hope to have a talk with you about that one day, because it was great. Now, let's talk about who we work with. We work closely with the Learning Resource Center because they do a lot of our Blackboard training and Zoom training for the students and get the students Microsoft Word and other tools. We only have 4 full-time staff assigned to e-learning. Only 2 of them are instructional designers, and I'm on loan there to get the staff up to 5. But basically, we have a smaller staff than we had pre-pandemic. I don't know how we're pulling it off, but it seems to be working. We also worked with, Marva staff had something to do with this. We have a common online learning orientation that goes into all the classes as part of the template. We work with multiple departments on that, and it's an ongoing project we do and review every semester. We also work with the registrar to resolve attendance issues. A lot of this stuff has to be done by the registrar, so we work very closely with them. So if you're having a problem with enrollment or attendance or access, we usually contact them as well. We also work closely with the IRT department and their service desk. One advantage we had going into the pandemic is that our e-learning department was the only e-learning department in the university to have a business continuity disaster recovery plan, which we actually worked on with Chris Mitty and prior to like way prior to the pandemic. And we were thinking about it, that there would be another terrorist attack or hurricane or something. But Chris and I actually were gearing up that plan in February before the pandemic hit the United States. We actually reviewed it, and that helped us a lot. But that was with IRT. And also the service desk does a lot of the tier 1 stuff like access issues and getting Blackboard, getting into Blackboard with the CUNY First IDs. Okay, so we also work with John Huey in BLA with the Connect to Success and Starfish projects. John does a great job pulling that data, and we work very closely with him. We do a lot with student affairs. I mean, we talked about some of it before, but the FYE online learning orientation is something where, and with the FYE program and new student orientation, that's something where Alex Pereira in particular works very closely with student affairs. We work with all academic departments in developing course templates and training. I have to give a big shout out to the English department that's been working very hard on the English 100 and 200 level required courses. They've been really great at that, and basically they take a lot of control over it. We just support it, but they're not the only department. We work with a lot of people. We're also working with the science department to get some of the online lab stuff going as well. We do work with the cohort programs. We are trying to push something called Blackboard organizations, and we also do specialized training for them. So that's been pretty valuable as an experience. CEDLS, we work with them on coordinating faculty support and training. And we opened up our weekly Zoom lab hours to them so they can actually use it for some of their training as well, and some of their support as well. So just so you know, we do have the lab hours 3 times a week, and we also do a lot of one-on-ones. Our biggest collaborator is actually you, the faculty. We really can't serve the students directly as much as through you. So we need you, and we need to collaborate with you to get our work done. And I have to say the direct experience of working with the faculty has been pretty remarkable and very, I mean, the time spent dealing with faculty on their class problems and their issues has been incredibly rewarding. And I just want to say on behalf of the whole e-learning team, we really appreciate working with you. And we really, I think if that's one good thing that came out of our work the pandemic is we've gotten to know a lot of you very closely, and we really appreciate helping you and being there for you. So that is pretty much it. If you have any questions, I'm here and looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So we will, again, and as questions come up, I will definitely share, but we will move on to Sanjay.
Hi all, good afternoon. This is a very timely presentation, and thank you all, and being mindful of the time, because I know you guys have to continue the rest of the breakout sessions. I just want to tap into a couple pieces. One is retention, and all the work that all the presenters have done, have kind of showcased, really is going to help, if it all pans out, with the retention of our students. One of the pieces that has been illustrated over time is that, especially from this assessment office, is that our retention rate as an institution, good, bad, or indifferent, over the last 10 years, and John, you can chime in and let me know if I go off track, is about 50 to 52%. So at the end of the day, we bring in 2 students, we lose 1. And that's, as was illustrated during the enrollment town hall, our enrollment's been going down over the last 7 years. And if we keep focusing on the high school population type student, we have to have the retention support services to really support their activities and their success during their time here. However, if we're looking to pivot and adjust to different populations of students, we have to ensure those support services can potentially provide guidance to them, the adult student, the online student, the part-time student, the evening weekend. So these are some of the pieces that we really have to formalize and have a better sequence around. Some of the work that we do on the onboarding side, on the front end, really shows that many of the students need a significant amount of hand-holding. And it's no longer, I think it was Neda mentioning that students aren't reading emails. So they're no longer, some of those, we send them texts. Students sometimes are not reading their texts. We're doing phone calls. We've seen some good feedback from students responding to the phone calls. However, with Ring Central, or prior to Ring Central, we would call from maybe blocked numbers and students wouldn't pick up. So we had to ensure now through Ring Central, it says BMCC in there, so they know who's calling them. It's the same if any strange number calls us, we're not gonna pay attention to it. It'll go to voicemail. And how many of us check our voicemails? So, and one of the things VP Craig had really pushed for was good old fashioned sending mail, hard copy letters to their houses. Because a lot of the times when we're trying to reach the student, we're texting, we're calling, we're emailing them. You send a letter to their house. The parents sometimes intervene and they're like, hey, you got mail from BMCC, what is this about? So those are some of the pieces that we really have to encourage and improve on that high touch type environment to connect with the students. A lot of the times on the front end when we're onboarding the students is we've sent all the messaging to the students to accept their acceptance. And it's literally, they have to click a button in the process in CUNY First or whatever it is. And the students aren't aware or can't find that button. So we literally have to get on the phone and call them and, walk them through that process. So we have to be very intrusive. Neda highlighted that, yes, we've been 2 years into this pandemic and we've kind of figured out some pieces, but just as soon as we figure it out, something changes. So we have to be really agile and keep adjusting how we keep connecting and maintaining our relationships with the students all the way through. One of the biggest disconnects concerns we have right now is really the financial aid process, since financial aid verifications, which is students that were selected, students were selected to provide additional documentation to the federal government, that was suspended during the pandemic year and a half. Now they're reconstituting it. So based on this new upcoming academic year, students will have to submit verification documents, etc. And one of the larger concerns from the financial aid community is that for the last couple of years, students have been attending school potentially for free. Many schools didn't put holds on students based on balances. Students were receiving checks in the mail from CARES Act, from HERFA money, from ARPA money. So each time there's a new tranche of money coming down the pike, that they were getting basically checks. And to all of a sudden get back to putting blocks on students, there's a level of anxiety now from the student side as to how to navigate all these things, and that they've really had no concern for the last couple of years. So there's a number of challenges coming down the pike, but I think this work that we're doing on the assessment side will really maintain and keep our students engaged all the way through. This is tremendous opportunity, and the more we retain our students, the easier it'll be overall for us from a larger perspective to provide an opportunity for our students to be better citizens. So again, I know we're short on time, so I'll just stop there and open up to any questions.
Thank you so much for that. Again, if there are any questions, please feel free to either type them up on the chat or unmute yourself. But I definitely just wanted to take this opportunity to thank everyone from each department and sharing, as Robin said earlier today, putting those caring words, those words of caring into action. And, you know, I think we've seen how each department is really doing, taking a lot on their part to really support our students, and even doing, as Marva mentioned, supporting students with those no-name services, right? Those little things that really, really support student progress. So I'm gonna pass it off to Gloria so she can walk us through the rest of the afternoon here.
And thank you, Ruth. So at this segment of the program, we will have breakout rooms that attendees can join. You self-select the breakout rooms. So let me announce what the topic is and who the presenters are. So in our first breakout room 1, the topic is tutoring as a part of the assessment plan. And our presenters there are Dr. Sydney Askew, as well as Director Gregory Farrell. Dr. Sydney Askew is from accounting, and Director Gregory Farrell is from the Academic Resource Center. Breakout room 2, the topic is assessing student learning in a remote environment. The presenter for that room is Dr. Chun-Yi Peng, and he's from the Modern Languages Department. Breakout room 3, the topic is factoring in student disabilities when assessing student performance in a remote environment. And the presenters there are Dr. Tassos Rigopoulos and Specialist Heidi Durkin and Specialist Grace Harris from the Office of Accessibility. And then breakout room 4, the topic is using data to drive decision-making. And the presenter in that room is Dr. Musa Elbulak from Institutional Research and Data Analysis. Well, welcome back to the main room here.
Hi,
Um,
everybody. I'm sorry to jump in. Before when we were speaking, we got a little bit cut off, but anybody who wants to see the resources for the Learning Resource Center, I'm going to drop our website on the chat. So if anybody's curious and want to see what are the resources available in the Learning Resource Center, they can just click on the link.
Okay, thank you for that. And anyone else who wants to put anything in the chat for follow-up to their presentations, that would be great. I got a chance to go to at least 2 of the breakout rooms, and a lot of good conversation was had. We're reaching this point where we're wrapping up today. And we have some speakers to give closing remarks. But before I turn it over to them, on behalf of the chairs of the Academic Assessment Committee, that would be Rebecca Garte and Henry Boulay, I would like to extend their gratitude and thank Professor Shobha Bandy Rowe of Academic Literacy and Linguistics, as well as Professor Ruth Gergis of Teacher Education and Professor Shane Snipes of the Business Management Department. I'd like to thank them for their tireless efforts in leading their colleagues on the Academic Assessment Committee in the preparation and planning for this event today. Had to do a lot of coordination and in multiple modes, which presents certain challenges, but overall, I think this had a lot of participation and we all gained a lot of insights and information from the various panelists. So I thank them for their efforts. I thank the chairs of the committee for the efforts. And I'm going to now turn it over to and introduce Dean Shults, who's going to have some closing remarks, followed by Dr. Lesley Rennis from the Health Education Department, who will also add some closing remarks. This is in the last 15 minutes of the day. So that gives you exactly 7.5 minutes each. So Dean Shults, if you want to go first, that'd be great. Thanks so much.
You're quite welcome. Not a problem. I'm going to keep it to under 7.5 minutes here. Even though I certainly, those who know me know, I can talk if I need to. I can fill some space. But joking aside, I also want to thank the chairs of the Academic Assessment Committee for getting this this day started, the planning on it, and I want to make sure that I also thank our team in institutional effectiveness and analytics. Vicky, who I see still here, and Brian certainly were involved as well. And one of the things as we spoke about, the planning with this was, and Henry made a real point of this, and I agree 100% with him, is that this is not a one-off. I was only able to hear, a few conversations in the afternoon and a few in the morning. Unfortunately, had a ton of other meetings today, and I really would have loved to have spent more time, because the conversations, sometimes we are so busy in our own areas that we don't get a chance to really hear about the really cool stuff that's going on. And I think too often we certainly have faculty who are unable to sort of learn what's going on in some of our support areas. And we have our support areas that don't really know necessarily what's going on in certain departments in the classroom. And the thing is, to serve our students, to truly understand them holistically, academically, emotionally, all of that, it really requires more of a 360-degree view of them. And you can be the smartest person in the world, but you can't read what's on the board behind you. You need somebody else to see that. And so this type of collaboration is exactly what BMCC needs to really support our students and to improve their success. And as I said in one of the sessions for me, and student success is learning and its outcomes. It's both. It's not one or the other. And we really only understand fully how we can serve our students when we remember that when we say students, it's not this homogenous group we're talking about. And I think we need to, and I heard this in the conversations, especially the one with accessibility that I was in towards the end, is we can't have policies, practices, teaching approaches, tutoring approaches, counseling approaches that treat students as a singular entity. And we all obviously know better than that, but so often we find ourselves doing that. And when we take a look at policies and practices, far too often that's what happens. And so I think this is a good area for us to continue to dig in and ask hard questions. I see the individuals who have been here throughout the day. These are a lot of our leaders who are asking these questions. And I think institutionally, I will go ahead and put myself out there and our department out there. There are a lot of really good questions that we would love to help departments and other support areas to work on. That's our job. We are a support unit and we are here to do that. So obviously we do a lot of research and we have a lot of analytics and we have a lot of data that we've pulled. We support you with academic program reviews, with assessments. You have questions, we do all of that. But we would also love to have more opportunities to be involved with deep institutional level questions. And that's why I think sessions like this, I would love to see these happening maybe even once or twice a semester. Maybe it's not 6 hours, maybe it's 3 hours or whatever, but I think this has to happen more regularly because of the conversations, because we're going to have so many of you that are ready to run off with ideas, that you're ready to implement questions you want to ask. Here's this person I saw in this session. I had never heard of them before. I didn't even know what their unit was. Now I've got to find out, like, while that's all hot, while that's all like right on our lips and on our fingertips, and like we really want to jump into it, we've got to make sure that there are more opportunities to do just this, to stop, to listen, to open ourselves to learning, to bring down defensiveness, all of that kind of stuff, to take time, and frankly, I think to show care for each other as well. Part of going into the sessions for me was to show, hey, I'm interested in this. I care about this. Maybe that's not a lot, but it's something that I can do, right? And we can all do a little bit to kind of support each other, because we've talked about serving students, but we also have to support each other. We've got to take care of each other. We've got to look out for each other. Grace and empathy are the greatest tools that we have at our fingertips. We need to make sure that we utilize those. And I saw a lot of that today. And so I'm very excited. Again, looking forward to having more opportunities for collaborative conversations. You know, the president's, the research, the Race, Equity and Inclusion Task Force, the president's advisory on research, strategic planning committees. We've got the strategic enrollment management that's getting ready to get started. We've got these major institutional groups who will benefit from having individuals presenting them with questions. And so I would ask that all of you open yourselves up to that and for you to help us ask the questions we need to. And our office stands ready to support. So again, thank you to all of the folks who are involved with organizing this day. Thank you to everybody who presented. I know some people, you know, they got a call probably from us in the last 10 days and they jumped and were like, yeah, I'm ready to do it. That's one of the things I love about BMCC is we do jump to support each other and help each other. And so this was a wonderful day, I believe, and I want to thank everybody who had a part to play in it. And call us if you need us. With that, I'll pass it over to Dr. Rennis.
Thank you, and I would absolutely echo everything that was expressed by Dean Shults. I would like to start off by just saying that today has been a little shot of adrenaline at the end of the semester. It's been really exciting to be with you all, and all day I was a little hesitant about being on Zoom all day long, but it actually has been great. And actually it's been great to see the HyFlex format up close and live and see how it works. So I have just been very impressed and grateful that I work among colleagues who care so much and who are willing to spend a Friday afternoon at the end of the semester engaged around these very complex and important issues. I just wanted to kind of remind us, I have just one slide, just to remind us what we have talked about. And I will say that a lot of these issues prior to the pandemic, myself and Professor Sellers-Milhorn, we actually had been thinking a lot about this. We had a grant to look at mindfulness at the community college and in the classroom and among staff. And we were clear about just how complex our situation is as community college teaching and instruction and counseling staff. And we understood just how much we needed research and practices that were both unique to our experiences as community college faculty and staff, but also that were innovative and that took into consideration the unique context in which our students were coming to us. So the fact that one of the things that repeatedly came across today was how important context is and how much we need to understand our students' lives and that they bring those lives into the classroom really hit home for me, because that was definitely a finding from our research. So we have to take away from today that when we are in the classroom or in a student-facing office, that our students are coming to us with so much more on their shoulders than we probably could even imagine. The other thing that came across loud and clear today was engagement and how important engagement is. And engagement, of course, when we think about our students and how important it is to not just teach them, but from the faculty side, but also to engage with them so that we can understand their lives and the context of their lives. And I'm reminded of how many conversations I had in both undergrad and grad school that really changed the course of my career, both academic and professional career, and how important single conversations were to my growth and development and confidence. But the conversations, not just among students, but amongst each other. And I think that's another thing that came out of today, just how important it is for us to talk to each other, and that we all want the same thing for our students, and that we do have to give each other grace, and we have to listen and have to be willing to kind of meet in the middle around issues that are really important. And then the last thing that came across clearly today is how we absolutely have no choice but to reimagine how we do higher education. We are at such a critical point, and that reimagining is around student success, around assessment, around how we teach and pedagogy. All of those things have to be rethought of, and we have to be very flexible in our willingness to accept that maybe that class that we, I think it was Lisa or Robin that mentioned how when we design our courses, we think they're perfect, but we're not on the other side. And oftentimes that is not the case. There are things that we need to change. And I think we have to be flexible enough and nimble enough and agile enough to accept that it is time to reimagine some of the things that we've been doing for a long time and come up with innovative strategies that really meet our students where they are at. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you very much, everyone, for all the hard work, both in front of the camera, off the camera, behind the scenes, for all the hard work that you put into making this happen.
Well, that concludes today's colloquium and addressing our students during a crisis. We took away a lot of great ideas. There were a lot of wonderful presentations, and I see in the chat lots of thank yous to each and every department that contributed, you know, on the academic side, on the institutional effectiveness and analytics side, and all the student support services. And it certainly takes a team, and the lessons from today were, you know, to be holistic and, you know, have a social service kind of approach. So thank you all. There's also a thank you to our chairs. Rebecca, are you still here? Would you like to say goodbye? Have the last word?
Yeah, thank you so much to everyone. It's been an incredible journey with Henry and I, with this committee of 26 different faculty members representing almost every department in the college, and to see the way that our colleagues inspired one another and project managed one another and did all kinds of jobs, you know, from creating the program and creating flyers and, you know, all kinds of things that I don't know how to do. And, you know, constant communication. And I just think that, you know, as we heard in the morning session, support for having our faculty and our staff really, we really have the ability to create the knowledge that we need to understand and to serve our students and our specific population. And so the more that we can get institutional support for those efforts, for our research, for our own assessment practices and collaborations, for research with students, as we heard from the STEP program and so many other amazing ideas, the more we can support that, I think we've all shown that we are ready, willing, and able, cheesy as that is. So thank you so much to everyone who's here and who's not here anymore. And I guess we'll find out. I know this whole thing has been recorded. I don't know if it could be broken up into sections, because I know the entire video is most likely way too big for anyone to share, but I guess we'll find out. I know I had some colleagues who couldn't, you know, be here, but are interested in the information. So perhaps there'll be a way that we can send things out. And thank you to everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hey, just real quick. Dean Schultz, this is a question for you if you're still here. Just out of curiosity, are there any plans to do like a program-wide assessment on student learning, like asking the real concrete questions such as, what do we want our students to learn? How are they learning? And how do we know? Like, for example, you know, I'm going to pick the accounting department.
Mhm. Oh, I'm sorry, you said you were going to pick the accounting department for what?
Meaning, to use as an example, are there any plans in the future to assess those areas like accounting, business?
Oh, they go through,
yeah,
they go through academic program reviews every 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
And starting in the fall, we're going to be revamping and having an institutional assessment committee, of which obviously the academic assessment committee is going to be a major contributor to that. But we also want to have, you know, more space for collaboration across faculty and staff, as well as staff and other units and things like that. But we also want to you know, Dr. Rennis's point, we want to reimagine the program review process, because the truth is, and I'm saying this as the dean who oversees the area, I think some of the information that we give to the academic departments probably isn't that helpful in the academic program review. I think we need to get more relevant. We need to get deeper in. We need to ask questions about, you know, connection to industry for certain areas. We need to, you know, focus more on what is and is not working as students transfer. That needs to be a part of it. We need to be looking at career readiness from a development and an exploration lens. We need to be doing all of these things. And so, yeah, Howard, there are going to be a lot of opportunities in that area. But I also would remind people, and some of the folks who have been on today are on the President's Advisory on Research. This is with the president. He's at those meetings, and this is a body of faculty and staff that are being asked to ask the tough questions so that we can institutionally put resources behind, you know, different initiatives, different research approaches. We've got all of these grants, the Title III, the Title V, that are asking some of these questions. So in some cases, we are asking and we're getting data, but we're not necessarily doing as good of a job of spreading it out, of presenting it to everybody, and for, you know, to make it maybe easier for people to incorporate it. So, you know, what I heard from Rebecca, I agree with, is we have to look at our institutional resources. And in some cases, we've got to redeploy them to some new areas. We've got to beef up some areas. And there are a lot of ways to do that. One is obviously, I'm a dean, you can let me know, but I think also these institutional bodies, they're being charged with doing that. And what I've seen from the REI in the last under 2 years has frankly been amazing. There are policy changes that are occurring as a result of the work that they've been doing. They've done some surveys recently where we'll be helping them to sort of analyze the data. So, that's probably a very long way of answering your question, which is we've got some processes, we're going to reimagine them. We've got some groups, you can work through them. And in our office, we're looking to expand the ability, and we're actually going through a complete mission, vision, outcomes review and revision for our area, because we'd like to provide support in a different way to the college. So any of those areas, feel free to, but and accounting, we know they do strong assessment. We see their stuff all the time, and the APRs that they've been involved with as well. So
Thank you.
Great.
I just want to add real quick. I was off line for a little bit, but I just want to thank everybody for this collaboration and all those who participated. So it's been a good ride. And as I mentioned to the increased Shults, I hope this is not a one-off, but just a beginning of very synergistic collaborative work between faculty and staff. Thank you very much for you all.